All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Today we will be discussing Specright Unpacked, the 4 fastest ways to find your spec data. Today, I'm starting us off as Andrea Derrick, a product manager, and I'm joined by 2 senior solution engineers, Victor and Bez. So for the agenda of what we'll be discussing, we have 4 key search capabilities that we want to showcase. The first is list views, then we'll go into like item finder, the where used feature, and then finally covering with global search. So for list views, this allows users to create customizable views with filters to find and see only what they need per object based on the data that they have access to. Some common pain points that we see with list views is, as a packaging engineer, sometimes they want to see relevant packaging records such as corrugated and folding carton records that have only the status approved or in process. Other times, as an ingredient supplier, maybe you just want to see only the ingredient records that are supplied by your company and are in pending approval. And then another common one is sometimes within a regional basis, you only want to see those regions from EMEA in the object tabs because maybe you interact with that region most frequently. And now I'll pass it to Victor or Bez to talk about some customer use cases and a demo.
Yeah, I can hop into a couple different perspectives too. I know these highlights packaging engineer, ingredients, but also as you guys think of aggregating your data maybe by plant or facility or by supplier, different types of views that are important to outline maybe different perspectives of the functions that are leveraging the data. So packaging engineers, procurement, quality, they can have definitely different views of how all these specs are viewed, but also the data that's represented in these views, right? Maybe it's more procurement facing, maybe it's more dimensional structural information like an engineer would use, or maybe it's understanding some of the standards associated to that particular product and things like that. So, but with that, I'll throw it over to Bez to kind of highlight the demo.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Vic. All right, so I'm logged into Specright right now, and what I'll do is I'll go to our packaging section to give you a couple examples of our list views. Now, the list views are always going to be up here in the top left, so you can see right now I'm looking at my recently viewed, which is pinned for me. So whenever I go into packaging, I'm always looking at the recently viewed first. But when I click on this dropdown, you can see I have a couple of different views that I've already created that I can use to filter and look at the data in different ways. So one example could be, I just want to look at my approved packaging. And when I select that view, it automatically updates this to just have my approved packaging here. So you can see the status for all of these is currently approved. Now, I might want to be able to look at data for just particular types of packaging. For example, our corrugated. Now, again, it's going to flip and just show me all of my corrugated packaging. But again, now this is just showing all, so I'm seeing a variety of different statuses. Now, if I wanted to create a new view, whether it's for myself or for the broader organization, really, really easy to do. So for example, if I wanted to take a look at just all of my corrugated packaging that is already approved, so similar to the view I showed you previously, but just for corrugated, in my settings here, I can go ahead and clone this existing view. And then that will allow me to, first of all, give it a new name. So I'll give it approved corrugated. And then I have the option to select who can see this view. So whether it's just for myself, all users, or I can share it with a particular group. For today, I'm going to just create this one for myself. Maybe this is a view that I'm constantly looking at, and I'm typically finding myself applying a filter every time I'm looking. So I'm just going to go ahead and create this as a standard view for myself. Now here on the right, I have my different filters for this view. So I have all the packages, the record type being corrugated, and I want to add a filter for the status. So let's go ahead and add that in. And we want it to equal approved. Now, once I save it, it'll update. And here we go. I've just created a brand new list view for myself for all my approved corrugated. So you can see how quick and easy that was to do. Now, one other thing I want to show within the list views is the ability to actually visualize some reports and data on here as well. So going back to my all view, so this is all packaging, all statuses, all types, etc. And I can add a chart in here. So I already have one created for approval status. And this gives me a quick view into what is the status of all of my packaging specs. So I can see at a really high level how many I have approved, how many are in process, and then all my other statuses as well, my obsoletes, new, pending, etc. So you can create any number of charts that you want, depending on how you want to slice and dice this data and have it visualized. But this is a really nice way to really enhance some of these list views, give you a little bit more data and information, and just another way to kind of visualize all this. Again, once you have all your data digitized and in the system, gives you a lot of flexibility in how you can search for and look at this data. All right, so that is list views. And if there are any questions from the audience, I'm more than happy to answer those. But that was a quick demo of our list views here.
Great, thank you, Bez. Our next item that we'll be going into is the Like Item Finder. The Like Item Finder allows users to dynamically search for records by choosing fields to filter by and then adding tolerances to those filters for number fields. This is a great tool that helps users find specs that already exist instead of having to create new ones for every product. One of the common pain points we see with this is sometimes typical search doesn't allow you to filter by multiple fields. And so sometimes it's a bit difficult when trying to narrow down to what you're getting. And a lot of times maybe you don't know the name of it, but you know the dimensions that you're searching by. And this tool allows you to apply those different filters and those tolerances to narrow down your search.
Yeah, and with that, I can kind of hop in, talk a little bit more about maybe some use cases where like item comes into play. With working with customers, a lot of opportunity for probably consolidation. So understanding maybe like size items of a particular packaging component, which you can consolidate down, which Bez will get into the demo and how to do that. But also thinking about supplier consolidation as well, right? Maybe you have a few different items in terms of that are being supplied by different suppliers or multi-sourced that you could potentially consolidate. The other view is the type of information as you're aggregating could be more pricing based, it could be performance based, right? Those attributes that how we slice and dice those specs to get to those certain kind of like size items can be configured to a customer requirement, right? So as you guys look at this, look at the features and the functions, but also definitely the use case is dependent, right? We also have customers that we have multiple facilities, right? That are managing a ton of different specifications that potentially they just want to see the aggregate view of like, hey, what can we work from facility A to facility B, whether it's transition, an incumbent supplier to that new facility, or just take a look at consolidation opportunities from that standpoint as well. But Bez, I'll throw it over to you.
All right, perfect. So I am in the Like Item Finder right now, and you can always find it right at the very top of your page here. So as soon as I go into the Like Item Finder, I have a couple of different options over on the left for how I want to search and filter the data that I'm looking for. So the first thing that we're going to do is choose what type of data we're looking for, whether it's a finished good, formula, ingredient, or packaging. So we'll go ahead and use packaging as our example today. And then what type of packaging are we looking for? So again, these are all of the same record types that you already have in the system, very similar to kind of how I showed you list views and being able to create views based on the type of packaging. We're doing the same thing here. We're using that exact data, but in a slightly different way. So let's go ahead and go with our corrugated once again. Now, as soon as I do that, it is already pulling up all of my corrugated packaging. Now, like Victor was saying, there's a lot of different ways that we can now start to filter this information to find exactly what we're looking for. So for example, if we're looking for a package with dimensions of 12 by 12 by 12, as soon as I put that in, it's automatically starting to filter all that down. You can see it's found those 3 records in my system that match those dimensions. It shows me the status of them as well. So I can see I do have one that is already approved. And I can even see where is this currently being used. And here we can see this one's currently not being used for any finished goods. So good information to know. Also really good to understand if you're making or planning on making a change to one of your packages or to one of your components, you can really easily see, what else is this going to impact if I'm going to make a change to it. So we filtered it down. We have these three packages that fit the exact dimensions that we put in. But say we have a tolerance that we can include for this package as well. So let's go ahead and put a tolerance of 2 in for all of our dimensions. And as you can see, it's going to start expanding this view. And now we're seeing another package that fits within the criteria. It's not the exact 12 by 12 by 12, but it still fits in within the tolerance that we were able to, that it's approved for us. So again, really quickly and easily able to go through our entire list of packaging components and really find the one that we're looking for in just a matter of seconds with just a couple of clicks and a couple of filters in here. So that was one example of how to really quickly go through this. But as you can see, you can use additional filters such as the status. So if I wanted to just look at anything that was approved, again, very easy for me to add that in and then continue to refine my data set that way. And you can see we have a couple other ways that you can continue to refine this as well. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of how you can use the like item finder with the ability to include some of those tolerances, which gives you some more flexibility beyond just what you can do in a standard list view. All right. Vic, anything else to add there?
Yeah, I was going to say, just to add, obviously we looked at packaging here, but if things like an ingredient, like item finder, or if you guys are trying to find many finished products that are similar, maybe to do a line extension off of, there's definitely different views. And the fields that Bez is highlighting here to the left side are definitely configurable. So if, there's criteria that are more performance-based, or you guys want to get location information or other different types of metrics of how you want to aggregate these things together, definitely possible from that standpoint as well.
So you can filter your ingredients by the supplier here as well. So a lot of different ways to kind of narrow it down and find exactly what you're looking for.
Great. Well, the next one we'll go into, and we actually got a little sneak peek to it already, is the where used feature. So this allows users to quickly and easily see where a given spec is used in the system. This now allows users to bypass many clicks to see where spec might be used in the system, and it can go multi-level deep. So they can access this from the like item finder, like Bez previously showed, but we can also access this through the record page once the admins have that configured. So one of the biggest pain points with these and why we wanted to create the where used feature is when we have specs that are multi-level deep. So we see this a lot with formulations, ingredients, but also with packaging and sub-packaging. If we have a sub-packaging that's connected to a packaging, to a semi-finished good, to then a finalized finished good, that's very multi-deep, it might be hard to see, and users typically would have to click through to get to where everything is connected. Now with the where used feature, it aggregates all of that data in a simplified view, so you can actually see where a single spec is connected throughout the system. And Victor, sorry, you're on mute.
My bad. No, I was thinking from a where you standpoint, I think it's not just super valuable to understand kind of what's connected to what from a bill of materials all the way down to the ingredient, kind of what Andrea said, but also potentially if you guys are going to change something, right? Change management's huge, whether you're versioning a specification to the next rev, understanding kind of what impact that is. So if it is connected like a shipper to multiple products, right, you understand that you're impacting multiple products. At the same time, the ingredient side, right? If you're changing a formula or recipe, understanding kind of what's going to be impacted all the way up from to the bill of materials, because it's definitely important as you guys go through versioning and change management for all those things to understand what's the downstream impact. But Bez.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll show you 2 examples of how we use where used. I'll show you a package first. So we'll continue on with our corrugated theme, and I'll show you an example with the corrugated, and then I'll also show an example of an ingredient and how that also can be used to see where that ingredient is being used in which finished goods. So within any of our records, Starting off with our corrugated package here, we have the Where Used tab. And then when I go in here, it really quickly shows me exactly which finished goods is this packaging being used for. So I can see that this package is being used for these 4 different finished goods, which is really good for me to know if there is going to be a new change to this particular package, or if I need to find maybe a new supplier. I know exactly what finished goods are going to be impacted by it. And then like anything else in the system, I can always drill in and hover over here to see some additional details as I need to, and then also jump directly into that record as well to get all the full details. But a really quick and easy way to see where is a particular packaging component being used across all of your different products. So that's an example of a package. Now, if we take a look at an ingredient, you'll see it's going to look very similar. So I'm pulling up our salt here, going into Where Used, and then within here I can see all the different formulas that this salt is being used in. So again, very similar scenario. Perhaps you're going to be changing the supplier for a particular ingredient, or you want to swap one ingredient for another one. You can really quickly see exactly which formulas are impacted, but then also which finished goods are impacted by that change as well. So really giving you that full picture and impact analysis of, if I make a change for this particular ingredient, what else is going to be impacted that I need to think about. All right. Vic, anything else to add on this one?
No, I think this is good. And I think obviously having that visibility into upstream and downstream, I think the other piece is that sometimes we overlook in terms of how easy it is in Specright is obviously we're more a data-driven company. So as you're updating things, you're looking at how this is impacting downstream, right? As you're doing things in Specright, it definitely flows down in a cascade effect. So the good thing, and I know we didn't talk about this a little bit, but the where use is impactful here is because as you make changes, those changes will cascade up to those specific records, right? So I think that's the other piece that's kind of important. You're not duplicating that change over and over again, whether we're updating a document. So that's also crucial. But no, I think you covered everything.
Okay.
Great. Well, one thing that Bez already kind of covered this, but we wanted to call this out is something to note is the use of compact layouts. So this is a quick and easy tool that can highlight some key data points around a related record without having to click into it. So Bez had showed previously on that related where used that he could hover over that item and see some of those details. But we have this throughout the system if you have any related item through a lookup here. So here we have the supplier, and you can see that the account information is popping up just from hovering over that. And here's just a larger view. Great. And then the last item we will be discussing today is global search. And this really allows users to search for anything in the system that they have access to. So the great thing about global search is it's not restricted like a list view is to an object, or even with like Item Finder, how you're searching and you select which object you're going from. The global search is anything that you have access to in the system. So a use case, for example, if you are searching for oil, you can type that in, and into the global search, it'll pull up any ingredients or formulas or finished goods that have oil in the name. So really allowing for a robust search from that standpoint. And then I'll pass to Victor and Bez.
Yeah, I think this is, Bez could kind of just highlight the functionality here, but I think the biggest issues we run into with some of the clients and prospects we talk to is really access to information, right? In terms of how we access the records, how we can look things up by. And this global search usually is one of those critical points of accessibility. So whether you're looking up things by an attribute, an ingredient, or a finished good, data point, or even looking into some document types, definitely possible to quickly access everything very easily. But Bez will get into kind of highlighting those things as well.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Vic. And this is really one of the areas where we see customers being able to save the most amount of time, because a lot of the time you're looking through shared folders, trying to find the right version, trying to find the right document. And in SharePoint and things like that, the search capabilities aren't as robust sometimes. You're either going to get too much information or sometimes not enough. And so our global search really allows you to find exactly what you're looking for really, really quickly, because the data is already digitized, classified, and organized in a way that it's really easy to find. So I'll go ahead and do a search for corrugated, keeping up with our theme here, just to show you all the different types of information that we're going to see pop up here. So first of all, we have all of our different specs that are coming up, and we can see it's finding anything with the name corrugated, either in the name or in the ID, or even in some of the other fields within the record as well. So really doing a very deep search into all the data that you have to find this. Now we're also pulling in any accounts that match that name as well. So you could use this to search for a particular supplier or account. So for example, if you wanted to search for Acme and find your Acme account, you can do that very easily, and then from there see all the different materials that they may be supplying for you. So just really quickly being able to get to that information that you're looking for. Now, one of the other things with the global search that's really cool is that it can also search through the files that you have uploaded into the system. So not just looking at the name of the file, but also the contents of the file. So if I were to open up this PDF here, somewhere within here, it's going to have corrugated. So really, really cool that you can search globally, and it'll search not just the data that you have typed in or entered into a particular record, but also across all the documents that you have put into the system as well. It's really looking at the text that's in every PDF and document that you have in here. Again, so that way you can really find what you're looking for. Maybe you just know, like, there's a sentence or a certain phrase in this one document and you just don't know what it was called. You can search by that and it'll get you to the right place. So this is really, really powerful to really, again, find what you need really, really quickly. So I showed you a couple examples of the data that it's searching, some of the files, and then as you can see, as I go further down, it's looking at really every kind of record and data that I have in the system that has that word corrugated in here. And then over on the left, you can do all of your filtering. So if you just wanted to look at any specs that are coming up, you can do that, or by any of these other types of data points. Again, you can really filter and narrow down. So again, you can get to that information that you're looking for as quickly as possible. All right, and that's global search. Vic or Andrea, I'm not sure if there's anything else you guys want to add to this, but I think this covers it.
Yeah, it's good from my standpoint. I think pretty self-explanatory from a global search. I know this is more of a dynamic global search function, but Andrew, is there any other kind of maybe customer, use cases where maybe some of the search functionality is more applicable to this versus others?
Yeah, I think the big thing about global search is just the ability to search across the whole system. So if you are, I think a lot of times looking for similar item, or you're working maybe with a certain brand, for example, and you want to see a brand across the finished good, or maybe the brand of packaging, and you just want to see all specs that are connected from that level across different objects or supplier, then that's where this tool really comes into play. And I think also similar to the like item finder, these columns that are highlighted here are also configurable, which is great. So we have our standard ones that we have as a best practice, but you can really configure this based off of the data that you tend to search by every time.
Yeah, that's a great point. I forgot to mention that during the list views as well, but all of the different views in the list views that we covered earlier, these can all be configured as well as far as which columns you want to see within here. And this can be configured depending on the view that you're in as well. So really, really nice to be able to get exactly the data that you're looking for at a high level. And it's really easy to choose which columns you want to show within here. All you have to do is go into this little select fields to display, and then just start popping in, exactly what columns do you want exposed within here. So you can really have a very tailored view depending on the user or the function and what you want to really see within this view at a quick glance, instead of having to dig into every single record in order to get that information. So you can see really quickly and easily able to add some of that additional information in here.
Great, thank you, Bez. Well, I think that now wraps up our demo and description portion. So we will have some extra time now for anyone who has any questions. And if you do, please feel free to pop those into the chat. So our first question is, any limit on the number of significant characters on measurements converter feature between imperial and metric? So is this with the specific searching? Any limit of number? I think this probably may relate to the like item finder when you're searching by the dimensions would be my guess for this question.
Not that I'm aware of. There shouldn't be any limitations there. I'm sure there is a field limitation, but it's likely bigger than you would ever need.
Yeah, and I think as far as when we set up the imperial and metric, or the just dimensional fields in general on the back end, you're able to set up the amount of decimals, and I think that's what comes into play with the searchability. So if you want 4 decimals versus 6 or 2, we set that up per field, and then that would apply to the searching. And then as far as converting between imperial and metric, we actually do have a unit of measure conversion feature. That's slightly different from, we didn't really cover that from the search capabilities, but we do have that from just a standard Specright feature that if you have imperial or metric fields, we add in that automatic conversion for you. Thank you, Rick. Allison says, are you able to search for things in documents?
Yes, absolutely. So, Andrew, do you want me to share my screen again? I'm happy to kind of pull that up one more time.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So once again, I'll do my search for corrugated. And within here, you'll see there's a section for files. So this is searching for my search term that I put in across all files that are within the system. And so if I go in here, you can see that not all these files have corrugated in the title. And that's because it is actually searching within the contents of the document itself. So as you can see here, we have corrugated within the document. So yes, we absolutely are able to search within the documents as well. And hopefully this answers your question, but happy to dig deeper on this if not.
Great. Thank you, Bez. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, that's okay. You can feel free to reach out to us by navigating to our website if you have any other questions or if you want to book a demo to learn more. So thank you everyone for your time today. And thank you, Bez and Victor, for your support.
Sure. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.